Three, two, one.
We'd like to welcome you to another edition of GrokTALK, brought to you by New Hampshire's leading conservative blog site, GrokTALK.com. We are your feared extremist, right-wing, hard-charging, gun-toting, opinionated, outspoken, rabble-rousing, letter-writing, radio microphone stomping conservatives and rational libertarians. So get ready for more news and opinion you could only get from GrokTALK.com.
GrokTALK. All right, we are back. After having a brisk and invigorating discussion about compacts and healthcare, and before that, all kinds of stuff that's been going on in the state and the nation. But we're going to come back to education, because really all kind of starts with education, and education can be a huge problem if you don't get up and get down to the State House and get involved and help co-sponsor bills and support those bills and lobby for those bills and knock on doors and visit your legislators and other people's legislators and go, hey, hey, and, you know.
Indeed.
And Michelle Lavelle has been doing a lot of that, a lot of it.
Yes, it's all about our kids. It's what kind of future are they going to have? What kind of future will our state have? And if caring about our kids' education doesn't get you up and involved, what will?
Well, it also goes to what is the proper role of government. And I think in a lot of cases, as if you read Granite Grok at all, you know exactly where I'm coming from, is that we believe that the role of government has superseded an awful lot of what is going on, what should be in not only the sphere of parents, but civil society as a whole. And we've talked about this before, where the founders' model was limited government, large and expansive civil society, where those of us individuals, consisting of families and relations, friends, neighborhoods, and what have you, we're supposed to all interact and solve our own problems. The progressives have come along, and in education, it certainly started with the industrial classroom model, the blue social model, cornerstone, of pushing out everything that's civil society, and pretty soon it will devour, as we talked about earlier, the Hobbesian Leviathan government, where there is nothing but government. And, the Democrats are fine with that. They said during their convention, government is the one thing that we all belong to. And they thought, well, we've all gone in, and I keep thinking, what, they've bought me? And that seems to be more true of the latter than it is the former. Democrats run towards government. We're trying to get away. I'm part of the just leave me alone coalition. And in education, you're pretty much trying to do the same thing.
Yes.
Who should be in charge, Michelle?
Well, obviously, I think it's the parents. It's the parents' jobs to raise their kids, to decide how to best meet the needs and goals for their kids. And unfortunately, a lot of people, including legislators and what I like to call educrats, they believe that once you drop your kids off at the school bus or at the public school doors, all of a sudden they belong to the school. And so there have been legislative efforts to kind of reassert parents' ability to direct their kids' education, even when they're in the public schools. And those have met with some opposition. Sometimes we've been successful, like in 2012, there's a parent opt-out bill that allows parents to say no to certain controversial material for their child, but then the parents are responsible for that alternative and the expense of it. A lot of parents don't even know that they have that right, that they have that option for their kids. And this last session, there was a bill, it was HB 332, that would have closed what I think of as the loophole for notification when it concerned topics or unit studies of human sexual health. This was a bill sponsored by Representative Victoria Sullivan out of Manchester, and it just would have applied a 2-week notification period for parents just to know. How can you opt out of something if you don't know it's coming? How do you know that this is something I'm concerned about for how it's going to be taught to my kids unless you're told about it?
And of course, coming from Guilford, we saw a direct result of that went international viral.
Yes. Of
a parent, Billy Bear, who was upset that he didn't get prior notification of sexually explicit, rough teen sex, which underage, that's rape,
yeah,
statutory rape, and wasn't given enough notice of that. And the school board's going, not a big deal. The teachers are going, oh, not a big deal. He was upset because that's not his morality. And the government schools are taking over that role.
Yes.
I've posted about it before. Teachers believe they own the kids.
Yes. If I remember correctly, that situation in Guilford was revolving around a 9th grade English class.
Yes.
So it's not just sex ed classes where there can be these materials or topics that parents may want just a heads up about, and they can decide what's right for their kids. Kids are mature at different rates. They've got different sensitivities. Who knows what's going on in the family dynamics at that time? So it just involves a conversation with the parents. That's all they're asking for, is to be part of the process.
But they won't. And it really comes down to this. I know Hillary Clinton has said something similar, but the classic case lately was Dr. Melissa Harris Perry. It's on my Progressives and the Proper Role of, and their view of the proper role of government. We have never invested as much in public education as we should because and this is the bolder part, we've always had a private notion of children. Your kid is yours and totally your responsibility. We haven't had a very collective notion of these are our children. I mean, that basically says it all.
It does.
No!
Thank you.
I want to point something out really quick just because, years ago when we were all kids, in school, they didn't have any of these notifications. Why? Because they weren't giving us materials that could possibly be offensive or disturbing. That's why. Now we need them because the left has so far overtaken our school system that they are pushing this material that is inappropriate.
There were some very controversial materials. I believe it was a movie shown to elementary school kids in Manchester last year, and this is why Representative Sullivan sponsored this bill. It involved a class her own son was in, and she was just horrified when she found out after the fact that this particular movie had been shown in class. And her son was upset, other parents were upset. So the bill, it was HB 332, there was a real, genuine reason, not this solution in search of a problem. Stuff happens in our classrooms, and parents only find out after the fact. So this was a bill that would have just given parents a 2 weeks heads up.
We actually had a... there we go. I sound weird today in this headset thing. Maybe it's my ears. They're getting bad. When I was in high school, and to Kimberly's point, we actually had a class where it was an English class where it was heavy in Shakespeare. Actual Shakespeare, not the diluted, watered down kind. So I mean, there's some mature subject matter in this, and I was a sophomore. So the teacher handed out a paper to everybody and said, "We do a lot of this. We cover a lot of Shakespeare in this class, and we want to make sure it's okay. And if it's not, we'll just move you into a different class." And that's basically what this is. You're just saying, "Look, here's some mature material.
Yep.
You may or may not be ready for it. You decide, and we'll make an adjustment."
What a novel idea.
A lot of fingers in the air here.
Okay, who goes first?
Mike was first.
Yeah.
Mike fingered first.
So it's the flying fickle finger, and Steve is on the keyboard there. So my point is, it's not just the explicit material; it's the other stuff that they've introduced. It used to be literature and things that made you think. Now there's far more tendency for books to be actually depressing and miserable, and they wonder why teen suicide is on the rise. In my opinion, in a lot of cases, it's school-induced suicide, and they don't tell you they're teaching or asking the kids to read this stuff either. Skip.
I dryly note.
Oh, God. Go back to the pre-show for that.
That here we are in elementary and high schools that the teachers can say anything they want and not even the parents are going to be told about it. Yet in college, it's all the rage of trigger warnings, to bring up your point.
Trigger warnings.
They can't, a professor can't even tell semi-adult kids who I think they shouldn't be let out of the house and stuffed in their basements if they need a trigger warning about Shakespeare or the Iliad or some of these other great works of English and Western literature, but they have to be told, oh, you may get offended, you may have a crisis and have to go to the adult kindergarten safe room. I just wonder, just another case of society being turned upside down, and can't the parents turn this upside right if given a chance?
They could, and HB 332 was one of those, and we're still trying to. I don't know if we have a chance to override that one. That one was so squashed. I'm not sure we can, but I would love to try to reintroduce that concept.
And
in a
for
couple
our
years.
listeners, it dealt with.
That was the bill that Victoria Sullivan introduced, with where it just pertained to the 2 weeks notice on sexual units for health class and stuff. It was very narrow. But if you read the governor's veto statement, she said that this bill would have prohibited the teaching of some great literature like Shakespeare. And on the Senate floor, Senator David Waters said that it could even prohibit elementary school teachers from teaching the Charlotte's Web. Really? I mean, they really grossly misunderstood the bill.
Charlotte's Web is part of sex ed now?
Well, maybe for Senator Waters,
Maybe
but
Senator Waters.
but
Mr. Waters.
the bill itself was very, very narrowly written, the way the language was, so that it explicitly applied
One fine
to
pig.
It was explicitly narrowed to curriculum course material used for instruction of human sexuality or human sexual education. So it would not have pertained to these really good pieces of literature. And yet, they... Oh.
You might
There
hear
you go.
better.
That's okay. I still listen to you. There you go. You sound so much better.
Thank you.
But it was as though Waters and the governor had not even read the bill.
Well, I always
Imagine
note that
that.
when it comes to a conservative type bill, the Democrats and the Socialists in the House and in the Senate, and I kid you not, I don't think there's much difference between the two anymore. But they always go and jump off the rhetorical cliff because they always go to that 1% that says something's going to go wrong and what if, and they don't worry about the vast majority of the people when it comes to their issue. Of course, they'll immediately flip-flop. There's no consistency here when they're talking about, oh, well, we're all in this together. Well, then they won't let the small percentage of us who just want to be left alone be left alone. But it really, I'm sorry, it comes back to the theme, Michelle. The parents are to be avoided. The parents are the problem. The parents get in the way of the educational elite. The parents are the stumbling blocks. They are and yet we're being told in order for a kid to learn well, we need engaged parents. Well, then when you get them, they get castigated. I mean, there's just no sanity to this anymore.
It's like they only want parents to drop off brownies and cookies for the bake sale. That's it.
Oh, you can't do that under Michelle Obama's law.
Right. So it seems to,
not anymore.
yeah.
Kale chips.
Yeah, it seems to me that essentially it's too much trouble for the teachers to have to deal with the parents and to explain themselves. So I have to ask, if the powers of persuasion of these fine educators are so poor that they cannot persuade the parents that they are doing the right thing, how the heck can they persuade the children of the veracity of the material that they are presenting?
Because they know that the children aren't going to question an authority figure.
Young skulls full of mush.
Well, I mean, they are trained. They're beaten down. They're put into little boxes. You sit down when the bell rings. You raise your hand when you want to talk. And, yeah, it trains them to be very good, obedient little citizens.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. We will be right back. Stay tuned.
This is a coalition of New Hampshire taxpayers. We're located at 8 North Main in Concord, New Hampshire. This is a repository for all things conservative and municipal. So if you have a problem in your town, your school, your budget committee, the right to know law, and now at the top of our list is voter fraud. You have a tip for us, some information for us, you want to join or help us out, cnht.org.
Hi, this is Rich Gerard, host of Gerard at Large in the Morning, the Manchester area's only locally owned, locally operated, focused, and interested, riveting radio show, heard live every Monday through Friday from 6 to 9 on 90.7 FM WLMW, New Hampshire Family Radio, and available 24/7 live or archived at gerardatlarge.com. Be sure to tune in.
go back in?
No, I don't want to.
Welcome back.
I don't want to stop talking.
Grok.
Talk. So I'm talking.
Talk. Well,
A lot.
all right. Go for it.
No, it's Michelle's turn.
Okay.
Oh, my turn?
Oh, it's Michelle's turn.
Okay.
Oh, please.
So, what other bills do you have to talk about?
There, talk about giving parents some voice in their children's education. There was another bill, HB 603, which was going to explicitly allow parents the ability to refuse their child's participation in these statewide assessments. We've had massive opt-outs across the country this spring, which was the first time the Smarter Balance assessment was officially rolled out. I believe it was 500 kids in the Manchester School District as of late March. I haven't seen an exact figure that took us through the end of the school year for Manchester. Expect that to be massive. Half of the junior class in Nashua opted out. I mean, seriously. So, and those are just two of the bigger communities, but this happened across the state. So parents don't like these tests. I mean, frankly, even the educators, the superintendents are saying these tests are poor. And yet, we've got the State Department of Education coming into the legislature saying that they want an alternative, but yet they still want to mandate these awful, awful tests to these children. And they're saying that these tests are the students' accountability mechanism to the state and the feds. Yet this opt-out bill did pass, but got vetoed by the governor.
That last phrase put a chill of horror through me. This is the students' accountability to the state and the federal government.
Indeed.
I'm sorry. A minor child can't sign a contract. There is no accountability to the state. There's no accountability to the federal government. This is another expression of the collective saying, we will grow you up to be one of us. Welcome to 1984 and, the Pod People. What was the show, the series of movies where they all lived in pods? The green pill and the red pill.
Oh, Matrix?
The Matrix. Yes. So, here is the machinery taking
Red
over.
and blue.
This is the socialist. You are but a mere cog in our social machine.
Yes. That's what these assessments are, and there are other programs we can deviate and talk about the other things that the State Department wants to do.
Yes, Hillary said, we need to stop worrying about the rights of the individual and start worrying about what is best for society. 1993.
That's disturbing.
We're going to have to take things away from you.
That's
It's incredible. I was thinking about that when you said part of that earlier, and really what they're doing is they're conflating the good of society with the need to own the citizens. The society
Well put. I like that.
The society establishes the constitutions and laws in order to put reasonable constraints on behavior to prevent one person from harming another. You do not need to take possession of the children in order to do that. The children do not need to be owned by society. They need to be taught what the laws are.
Yeah. At the sake of breaking Godwin's law, we've heard this before back in the 1930s by Hermann Goebbels, that we don't worry about you. We have your children. And in essence, we are seeing that in a more quiet way, where the educational system is teaching contrary to traditional American values.
Well, let us not forget that Woodrow Wilson was himself a supreme educator, and he knew this stuff, and that FDR was a great admirer of Hitler and Mussolini until the shooting started.
Yeah, and they both despised the Constitution, which said individuals come first.
if you are comfortable with that kind of process for your kids, by all means, go along. Don't refuse your kids' participation. Just go ahead. Don't make waves. But I'm sorry. These are your kids. This truly is your parental responsibility. If this bothers you, get involved. Get off your seat. Call your legislator. Email them. Come up to provide testimony. Just show up to your school board meetings and say, so exactly why are we administering these tests? Get involved, even at the local level. Hold your reps accountable.
But they're buying them because, I can understand the need for some school lunches, but now in some districts, everybody gets a free school lunch. They get free school breakfast. They're giving suppers away. Not only that, but during vacations, you got these converted buses going around saying, here, free food for everybody, whether you qualify or not. And you see parent after parent after parent saying, well, now I don't have to spend money on my own kids.
Without realizing that their tax money's paying for that, and as usual with government, friction is wasting more than they're getting back.
I mean, I try to be... Go ahead, Kim.
Well, I was going to say, one of the problems, because I'm with you, Michelle, on parents getting involved, I think parents are afraid. You see how school boards treat people getting arrested, the cops being called.
Yep.
People see that, and they're afraid. They're not big mouths like us who will stand up to these bullies.
Yep.
They're just regular people who want to do the best for their kids, and, they're sitting at home stressing out about it, but they're afraid because they don't want anything. They don't want their kids to be punished as a result.
And they have been.
They don't want to end up in jail.
Kids do get backlash because parents open up their mouths. So, for example, Manchester gave away little gift cards and other little incentives for participating in the statewide assessments. Different districts across the country have ice cream parties and other outings for the kids that participate. So the kids who don't...
Candy little girl.
Yeah. I mean, they're bribed, they're humiliated, they're singled out. There were kids who had to sit in just the classroom and just sit there and do nothing while the other kids who took the test got to have an ice cream party. I mean, these teachers do manipulate. There were kids... here in New Hampshire, who parents had refused their participation in the test, yet the superintendents and principals were bugging these middle school kids, 5th graders, 4th graders. Maybe you should talk to your parents. Maybe you should take this test. Are you sure your parents didn't want you to take this? Here, why don't you just take it today? Seriously, they're literally undermining the parental choices for their kids. These are adults. They know exactly what they're doing. I'm sorry. It's that insidious and that manipulative.
And we should also examine the incentives or pressures that those teachers and principals are being put under to do exactly that, because I'm sure they're being managed by the numbers from the top.
They are.
That's not to make excuses for them, but...
The State Department of Education, run by Dr. Virginia Berry,
we've written about her
oh,
before.
Yes, she's just charming.
Special.
She's special. They are told by the feds that they have to have 95% participation in order to meet the guidelines for the No Child Left Behind waivers. And it's all about the money. It's not about the kids. It's not even about the teachers that they say there.
I have a suggestion. John Lynch redefined what a dropout was to make dropouts go away.
Right.
Why don't we redefine what taking a test means and then send those numbers to the government?
No, you know what I tell people? Tell your kids, take the test. Christmas tree it. You know what that is?
Right.
For those of you who don't understand, you take your first answer, and whatever's in the middle, you take that, and then the next one you go to the left and the right and the left. And at that point, when they start analyzing the statistics, this is a far better way to throw sand into the gearworks than by refusing to take the test. Tell your kids, take the test, get the ice cream, get the gift cards, get it all. But just do this on the answers.
Right.
And then let's see what happens.
Yeah, but you've got to remember, the teachers aren't the ones that are correcting these exams. It's some bureaucrats, hired people that are correcting the exams that aren't even related to anybody in the school. These people are probably morons who wouldn't even get that.
No, this is all on Microsoft or other related automated type systems where everything's on the computer. The parents can't even see the exams. So neither can the teachers, so go ahead and Christmas tree it there, little ones.
What's funny is that...
it would be nice if the central computer blew up afterwards, but of course it doesn't. Go ahead.
The governor, in her veto message on this bill, HB 603, said that it would not, by allowing too many kids to opt out, it inhibits the teacher's ability to see how the class is doing, how the individuals are doing. That's so much hooey, because the test results aren't even available for months later. So the test that these kids spent weeks on this spring, their final results won't be available to the beginning of the next school year. So how does that
Yeah, and teachers
drive?
are writing grades and assessments every quarter for their students. They know exactly where their students are.
They do. They, in fact, do. So,
and the teachers have to plan what grades the kids are going to be in and what classes they qualify for during the summer. So if the results aren't going to be available, and why aren't they going to be available? It's all computerized, but you don't dare send the results back.
and it's manipulated. There's something, it's called cut scores. So they manipulate what is a passing threshold or a failing threshold, and they manipulate it. They can either make schools fail more, so they can say, see, this is so much more rigorous. Isn't this great for our children? Or they can try to have the same passing rate. Oh, you like my sarcasm.
No,
Or-
I have a related thought.
Oh, I won't even go there then.
Oh, I will. It's a case of, this sounds exactly like what NOAA, the National Organization for Oceanic and Atmospheric Studies, is doing with the global warming stuff. They're adjusting, seasonally adjusting for this, that, and the other thing. And all of a sudden, what was a pause that we've been writing about for years, oh, no, there's never been a pause. It's been getting warmer, and we've always been at war with Eurasia, type of deal. I mean, if they're doing that,
They're doing
it's
the
like,
same thing.
what the heck?
So these cut scores, truly, every state manipulates their own cut score. So when they're manipulating this, and the whole reason for Common Core is supposed to make these, apples to apples across state lines and districts, and it's all a farce. So
self-grading.
No, it's
We're
junk.
awesome.
Yeah.
So-
Tell the teachers in Atlanta about this that got caught manipulating the grades.
Frankly, teachers are afraid because these are really unproven tests. They've really not been vetted. They're currently not validated, which, by the way, is against New Hampshire state law to administer assessments that are not validated. Ta-da! But teachers are going to have 20% of their evaluation based upon these scores. Of course, they want the kids to do well. Their jobs are on the line. And that was, again, to have New Hampshire meet these No Child Left Behind waiver laws. It's all to appease our federal masters.
Oh, Christmas tree! Oh, Christmas tree!
For those of you who aren't Christians, you can just do a holiday tree,
Just draw pretty
or a
pictures.
Hanukkah bush, or whatever you want. Just do something
Pretty
crazy.
pictures.
Pretty pictures.
A study in pointillism. You can study. See?
We're all nihilists
Make it pretty,
today.
whatever it is. Do a star.
I mean, the current crop of people who now lead our country, weren't they the ones when they were younger saying, don't trust anybody over 30? We're just passing on their message now that those people are in power.
Maybe you could do Obama.
I wouldn't even go that far.
Well, you can do lots of things. I feel bad because these parents really are. I think a lot of them are intimidated, as Kim said. They're afraid to make waves because of the backlash to their kids. Little Susie won't get, first chair
And it
flute,
is
and
real.
you won't get to, Tommy won't be able to make the sports team that he wants. And yeah, there are these backlashes to the kids. So, I mean, I know parents want to get involved. There are ways to do it, and there are ways to still protect your kids. I mean, it comes down to them, doesn't it?
That's really why it does come down to us, those of us who are now empty nesters, or at least your kids aren't in the school.
Can you finish the story in 20 seconds? Because
No.
we're going back
Bye.
to break. You can't. All right. Well, Michelle, thank you very much for coming in and sharing this. We're supposed to have in again pretty darn soon. Coming up next, 10:35, actually expected Governor George Pataki will be talking about running for president and all that fun stuff. So stay tuned. Don't go away. We'll be right back. This is GrokTALK, brought to you by GraniteGrok.com and the Coalition of New Hampshire Taxpayers. And we will be back in just a few minutes. Oh, wait, I got to talk for another couple seconds. Jeez, I changed things around and I have to chat. Here we go. Bye.
This is the Coalition of New Hampshire Taxpayers. We're located at 8 North Main in Concord, New Hampshire. This is the repository for all things conservative and municipal. So if you have a problem in your town, your school, your budget committee, the right to know law, and now at the top of our list is voter fraud. You have a tip for us, some information for us, you want to join or help us out, cnht.org.
Hi, this is Rich Gerard, host of Gerard at Large in the Morning. The Manchester area's only locally owned, locally operated, focused, and interested riveting radio show, heard live every Monday through Friday from 6 to 9 on 90.7 FM WLMW New Hampshire Family Radio, and available 24/7 live or archived at GerardAtLarge.com. Be sure to tune in.
GrokTALK.
Grok TV.